the language in life. 5 or 6 people a day will start to add to their list of wants and needs, right? One of the issues that we always talk about with her is her idea of, do I need this or do I want it? Okay. So the guidance for the soul continues to be part of this process. And we want to say thank you for joining our show. Enjoy the vision of love from whoever may or may not decide to honor us with their presence, depending on how long the vision can last. When we talk about the beauty of love for ourselves, we often get left behind in the process. If we don't focus on our own visions, our own guidance, and our own series of events that may or may not come through. When we are talking about the nature of language, it is very decisive in its application for some people. Do you desire a questionnaire about the hearing aid that someone else is wanting to put in their ear? So in essence, if you feel like your vision of hearing is lower than, we want to talk to you about your vision of how do I heal my hearing loss. Okay? This is a soul for a soul, right? I'm here to help those souls who want to have some of their visions addressed in their hearts and in their soul. Their souls would absolutely address that vision of hearing loss in the mindset. Sometimes the titles of these visions seem a little obscure or out of place, right? This vision of language that we use in our minds is very much strong, depending on what it is that we are hearing, correct? Do I often hear the words of love for my own soul, or do I hear the words of judgment and agitation continually playing across the screen, right? How many people are worried about the visions that they see coming across their screens? And in essence, we're going to try to take this to a different level of understanding about the nature of words, how they get used, and what we can do to lift our spirits with them. Does this mean that it's all about the vibration of a certain word? Let's think about that vision very carefully. Others will say absolutely, words can lift us up. It is the nature of the creative language. In essence, not only would the words of a song be important, but the vibration of the instruments as well, correct? It can be a book that can lift you up, and that's the nature of why we would honor all authors in any way, shape, or form that speak or create their visions of love. It does not take a genius to understand the nature of why that would be. My vision is of love for the souls of all. So therefore, if you create in that vision of love for all souls, there would be no fear of any books, no fear of any guidance, and no fear of any death sentences. Okay? The people on this soul level understanding in this moment are in this vision of creating a death sentence for certain people. And I want to talk to you about that. Do we indeed want to bring in the vision of those souls who were in their minds on death row at one point and were able to free themselves from the vision of it? How did I get off of that vision, right? Many are going to start to unwind that vision of joy for these soul sessions, right? But is it what's needed in the moment? Or are we handling ourselves with dignity and respect and honoring the vision of those who need to hear from their loved ones at some point in time? My vision was of death row, but I escaped that vision by dying, right? or I got let out just in time. So I'm going to talk to you about what I actually am talking about. Do I envision myself dead in 10 to 20 years? That's where some people are placing their vision. They keep reinforcing the vision that they are on the end of their lifespan, correct? Now, in fact, that may be true. You may have that vision that the majority of us don't live, past the age of, 100 or 110, right? Some people do, in fact, make it to that century mark, and those visions are beautiful. They make us smile because they are long-lived souls, right? They may be the babies of the world in our soul spirit. It's like the soul spirit could be a baby soul. Now, we're not going to talk spiritual enlightenment at this point in time. That's where I often got told that I was when I was in my mindset. But in my heart, I'm of no age that needs to be determined by anybody else. Let's put it that way. How many people say they are the old souls? Okay? See, these words lift us up in essence to a place of understanding of, oh, I'm the wise one. How is that to be determined? We've talked about it briefly in essence. But when someone tells you this vision of I'm an old soul, does it somehow imply a superiority in the mindset? Or does it say, I'm done? Right? Most people in this vision are like, this is more spirituality stuff or superiority stuff. I did not say that my vision was of old. Do we want to be old? The spirit is everlasting. So there's no such thing as young and old, correct? We have various levels of understanding on the new souls that come into the world, right? So let's take it to a different kind of vision where the language in our lives are very impactful to how we perceive who we are. Now, in essence, the majority of people in my group that I know, in essence, I would deem to be of a more lightened state, it's like enlightened state of awareness. They're very much in their mindsets, very much of dignity and honesty, respect, right? Usually people who are on the vision of love can kind of take on those visions of I'm better than. And I want to honor that vision of those of you who are honoring that vision of, yeah, I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like I'm better than others. Okay? There's a message in this vision. People are going to honor the vision of better than. But it is about your talents and strengths. It has zero to do with your soul's vision, right? It's everything to do with your soul's vision. So if you feel like you're in that, section of the audience where you would say, I'm the best there is and I know how to prove it. I saw Jesus Christ in person. Okay, that's the beauty of love of certain people who I indeed know and love. And I would say, I honor your visions of love for a soul. So let's talk about the nature of Christ as he was, right? It is a collective of guidance systems. Most people will have various ideas about the nature of Christ or of soul. So this is where some of those visions start to collide. Many people do not think of the soul as, more than who we are here. Many are in the vision of I'm here, this is who I am, and I'm embodied my soul, which resides in various levels of understanding, and that's the multidimensional soul selves that I tend to work with. Okay, I embodied the majority of my soul at a younger age. When I was 26 to 27, I went through a process of development that took me from one family tree to another. And in that vision, I expanded my awareness beyond all measure, right? It took me years to get to that place of acceptance for another family tree and to understand the beauty of it as loving and caring and expanding of my own awareness in other directions that actually allowed me to be more like who I am and who I am meant to be. You see, if I'm always walking on eggshells around others, and that's what was happening with me, when I watch my words of wisdom, right? I can't speak my mind for fear of offending the people around me. The language that I use, is it offensive to people? Some may take it as such. But in essence, those visions come through very strong. How many of us just want to say what we want to say, and we say, I love you too, right? Most people say, I get off on the soul that says she can do whatever she wants. But in essence, it's more like, I don't want to tread upon the vision of those souls who have their hearts in hand saying, give me more to help me with my vision of better than. And I had that vision in the shower with my soul. And I mean it in the instructional vision of mind wandering, right? The mindset as I pondered the vision of a word that was lobbed at me in various states of awareness. You are arrogant. You are on the high horse, right? Most will start to understand the vision of a joke or two. This is why people understand that we often do our best thinking in the places of the, like the shower, right? So anyways, as I ponder those visions of shower, right, I'm sitting there thinking about the nature of arrogance and the awareness of how a word is perceived is basically it's like a bit of perspective on that vision. Do I look into the mirror and say, am I arrogant by thinking I am beautiful? Or am I confident in how I look? Do I feel good about how I look? Okay, see, it's all speculation how many people are actually going to vision themselves using various words. In one system that I used, there were vibrational frequencies attached to words with long, lengthy descriptions. Okay. And in essence, I could bring through the soul of that soul that would know how to characterize the vision of arrogance versus self-consciousness, right? I was also self-conscious the majority of my life. How many people know what that vision feels like for a soul? Always aware of who you are and who others are. That's the nature of anxiety for a lot of people as well. Others are self-conscious. That's where I lie. I'm conscious of the visions of those souls who want, it's like anxiety help. So how do I break that trap of putting myself in the vision of I am anxious or I have anxiety? I get out of the mindset of it. It's about placing your vision on your heart. Your mind is your weapon that you can use against your own soul. Okay, so we have to say, I am loved by my soul. Why am I looking to those outside of myself to determine who I am as a person? Why am I holding their visions of who I am higher than myself? That's the nature of much of the conflict in our visions for who we are. We are basing our lives on the visions of others, whether we care to admit it or not. Because if I was truly free from that vision of caring about what other people think, I wouldn't be walking around in a state of wondering what others were thinking about me, right? And that's the beauty. Once you get out of that vision of it, it begins to be a little bit more instructional, okay? You start to challenge those ideas. Who's thinking about me and why? Does it actually matter? Is it something that I can change? Or is it something that I can address? right? And who are these people that I'm so worried about? So if I'm worried about other people in the sense that I'm a caretaker, that's a much different vision than those who are in the vision of I am anxious for no reason other than the fact that I am so self-aware of my surroundings and my vision of who I am as not feeling good in my being. Okay? I am destructive in my mindset as an anxiety-ridden child. That was me. I knew everything about everybody without knowing what was going on, right? I had no idea what was going on. And that's the thing that much of us in this position of love have to start to understand. When you create with visions of love as a child, and we're not demeaning anybody at this point, this is the beauty of who we are. You start to understand that those of us who are not meant to be on stage, right? I never in my life thought I would feel comfortable walking in public again. Right? How many people want to know what that vision is like? I've got several people who are starting to wonder if they're going to be able to bring through their vision of love for that soul. I will indeed imagine myself walking free and clear of any devices at some point in time. Okay? Now, to handle the hearts, I'm going to hold your heart and mine. You have grieved so much in the last year and a half over 2 or 3 things. We're going to let go of the vision of, it's like of Jonathan Winters. You know the vision of comedians, right? In my mind, I would say that vision is going to make sense to a couple's soul, or they will be aware of those visions as comedic geniuses. Okay, Jack Black, the visionary of comedic genius, is getting a little bomb. It's like the bombshell energy comes through. How many people are looking at her vision in the moment, wondering if they're going to be seeing the vision of another, celebrity soul coming through? This is for Jamie's vision. Now, she may or may not be in the moment watching this vision. The walking and talking is of concern. Okay? And this is why sometimes our messages are a little strong. You don't need to worry your heart over visions of success in the field of health. It's on its way to you, okay? Now, when I get with you at some point in your mind, I will tell you why I gave you the vision of Michael as an angel, okay? Versus the soul of your own heart, which has that vision brought to you. Because in our moments of need, we often look to those visions of love from those vibrations that are of intense vibrations of highness. So I want you guys to think about the nature of words as they come through. The vision is there of love always. If they sound strong, don't take it as anger. If it is of anger, you will hear the violence within the words, correct? How many people know that language is very nuanced? Tones are very important in the vision. So the language in our life is also the language that we keep playing out in our heads. It's our minds. And we want you to honor that vision. It doesn't mean you're creating that vision all the time. Be strong in your vision of love. It's like for Sean's vision, that soul is still on his own in his mind, right? No, he is surrounded by the loving, caring souls that still surround. It's like the loving, caring souls of love that keep surrounding your heart with the vision of health. You're not alone in your struggle. Your guides will come through with you and tell you that your strength is obvious. Do not downplay the vision of your mind in your journey. You have overcome much already. You know how to garner the strength of your past and rise up into the vision of health. You can do that vision. You've done it before. It doesn't mean you won't have your own setbacks in life, okay? But you can indeed enjoy the vision along the way. Take the time to rest and relax. Enjoy your vision of division, right? Some of us don't want to enjoy the vision of division. People assume that by me talking about a political ideology, that it is going to be that all the time. It's not. My vision, though, is of motivating people to think about the words that we use. We can see the impact of our words as we see them flying across the screen. Whether you take a word as positive or negative is merely, it's like a sensory, projection. That's what words are, right? I can speak words with my eyes. I don't need to use a word out of my mouth. So in essence, the language in life, it isn't just words. It can also be of love just by looking at someone from across the room, right? How many people do that with their loved ones? Look into your honey's eyes and speak the words of love without ever opening your mouth, right? That's the nature of where we honor those visions of those that are so in their minds in love and in their hearts they're adored. You're gifted with those visions of love forever. Take care of those hearts. Honor those visions of oneness. Okay, those are the visions of love for the majority of people. We would honor those visions. For those of us that aren't in that vision of it, as of yet, it can come your way. Okay? Now, language barriers are of no problem for us. So if you feel like I am not able to have a conversation, therefore I would not be able to have a session, I will say I will honor you with your own vision of love. Whenever it comes through, it will be for you and you only. Okay? You will not have to worry about the public vision being part of it. Okay? And the thank you is being acknowledged. Now, honorary degrees in psychology are often given to many in the field of INFJ, right? Okay, I will tell people when I go down the path of psychology versus love of our hearts. There's a lot of people who feel that the vision of my heart must go on. That's where some of us lie. I have to continue creating the beauty of love for those who disappear on the screen. Okay? So in essence, it's not about denying the beauty of language. It's about how I use my language, right? Does it mean it's like it rings true for certain people? They're going to start to understand that the nature of language is all perception. Okay, so if I'm saying I'm beautiful, half the people in the room, if they happen to like who I am, would say, yes, you are, right? And half the people, and I don't mean my beauty is on the outside, I'm always talking about the inner beauty, please, as we are as souls, versus those who may not be as understanding or caring for my messages could easily come through and say that's of arrogance, right? How many times do we look at people, make a judgment call based on what they're saying, but because we have a preconceived notion of who they are or what we, think about them, we portray their words in a different context, right? What's the context that we're looking at the words? Now, in essence, I am going to switch the topics because I just wanted to bring that through. A little bit of understanding goes a long way. How many people want to know what it's like to channel for 10 to 20 people at a time? Okay, so now I'm going to start that vision of love for all. And that means I get to have some fun. Okay, carts are a coming alive in the future. right? How many people know that vision? Energy work. These are the discussion questions I will often go into in the guidance for the soul sessions, which at this point are being held on Wednesdays at this point. The Friday night sessions are, we're holding them free for Mandalorian, right? Okay, I did that as a little joke, but honestly, I need my Friday nights. I will be doing sessions on the fly for a lot of reasons. Anyone who knows me knows if I feel the topic is coming to me, it means it's going to come through on the screen. If I hear a name of Michael Jackson and Randy, they're being acknowledged by the Father. In some planes of understanding, they do not participate with each other. Believe it or not, right? That's the nature. There is a Randy Jackson who is also being acknowledged for his contribution. This is not about singling out anyone's soul. Okay, and people are going to wonder, why is it this family that's coming through? Because in essence, it shows the struggle of the dynamics in understanding levels of awareness. Was I the outcast or was I one of the good boys in the family? Okay? Did I feel like I was the good boy? And I put my hat on when I needed it. It saved my butt. Okay? If I was the good boy in the family, I could take the beatings for the others. Okay? That's how strong this message gets. Now, how many people say they know what it's like to intervene in their family dynamics and intervene in the heartbreak of someone who has to deal with that vision? So my vision was that Randy and Michael are of two different souls, right? They created together in their mindset. Okay. Now we have to honor the vision. Brenda had a struggle in her mind. And so we want to honor those visions of, let's keep it focused, honey. Okay. Marion Jane. Marion and Jane. It's like Marion Jane. Or Jane. Marion. There's... these visions are of love for my own soul, who I don't even know. And they come through creative in their endeavors to try and break that chain of abuse for that family. They made the decision to treat him solely like the beating of the Bush family, right? Okay. People who understand the nature of why Randy Jackson is being acknowledged is that his vision was, I need to be acknowledged as well. I gave up a lot of my abuse vision a long time ago. I don't need to be reminded of it, but I'm acknowledging the vision of my soul wants to honor me for my contribution to the family. It's like the family tree. So most of us are in that vision of family tree, acknowledging the abuse and the suffering that we had to put up with in order to get to those higher levels of vision of success. I was broken in my mind. I didn't succeed the way that my brother and sister did. So my level of understanding was that, in essence, I am always acknowledged by my family in the most loving, kind way at this point in time. We don't care about those visions of success as much as what we used to. Because in essence, our Father has died and our tree was able to heal those broken backs. Because he said it felt like I was having my back broken. Okay. Now his vision may say different. He was like, I tried to avoid those beatings as much as I could. But how many people know what it's like to take a beating with a stick? Okay. Now, do I then go to the other side and pretend like that vision never happened? Or do I say, I need to work out some level, it's like the leveling up. Okay. This is in reference to the vision that we can just pretend that these things go away. Let me go, say my prayer in church and hope that I don't ever have to deal with my father again, right? Or maybe it's the vision of let's acknowledge the pain and suffering that all of us had to deal with. And that's usually kind of what happens. We can acknowledge the pain, the suffering. Some of us don't exist on the same plane as our parents. Okay, they may have decided that it is better for them to exist in other areas at this point in time. Okay, so my own father, who I love dearly, that's his nature. It doesn't mean there isn't a level of love from that family. Okay, we heal our wounds. Whether we choose to do them here or on the other side is a whole other story. Most of us will choose to do the work in our minds here, but the vibration of love is always with us. Cartoon characters were part of the problem for Brenda, in essence. Hearing those visions of destruction from other souls. How many people think she's caretaking the souls of terrorists, right? She's guided by her own soul. It is a soul embodiment video that we always are partaking in. The channeled visions are those visions of those outside of her soul group, but in essence, we connected to our soul and therefore are connecting to all. So my vision of love comes through very strong for those on the screen. Granger is a particular word that's going to make sense for somebody who's popping in and out on the screen. I have a lot of people who think that coming in and out is the way to get your message. Okay, or you're afraid. I just want you to know you're being acknowledged as popping in and popping out. It's okay to pop in and pop out. I don't mind. But the vision is of strength. The longer people stay, the more likely they're going to get something really decent for their hearts. And I will try to be as respectful as possible for those visions of love who are starting to understand we create as a group. So if your vision is of love, which we all do, whether or not you like the message, it is a creative endeavor for us. Do you know that when you come onto the screen, in essence, your own vision of love is often discarded? So my vision will often be discarded so that the beauty of the Jackson family can continue to come through. Their heartbreak was in seeing Brenda's heart broken with her own family, right? She has her own issues with her son. She never took a stick to him. But do we get angry? Yes. Do we hurt? Yes. Sometimes we do. My feelings are hurt. I hurt you. Okay? That's the nature of being a parent sometimes. Do I absolve myself of breaking someone's back? That's not me. That's Mr. Jackson. Okay? So what we had to deal with was this vision of life coming to us. Right? How many people know what the vision of the Jackson family is going to be like in 10 to 20 years? Are we going to remember them as they were or as they are now? So let's please remember to honor their visions of past, and let's remember to keep the healing visions going for their hearts. Because there are so many still here on this plane trying to grieve the loss of their family as they do pass to the other, well, it's to the other side of the veil, so to speak, but to the other planes of existence. Their vision would be the heavenly realm, so we want to honor that vision of heaven. Now, in essence, the heavenly realms of love are where we do a lot of, deconstructing our lives. We work on those visions of love from a place of higher vibration, opening up the vision to those who want to understand what that means. Does it mean I have to hurry? I don't have to hurry anywhere. There's a vision, someone's getting migraines, right? Is there someone there who is in the vision of migraines, questioning that vision of how do I give my vision to you? So this is a vision of someone who's saying, I don't want to hear about you, I want to hear about me. So someone who is there kind of feeling the inner visions of light, we would say, in your healing modality, as a Reiki master, I will say, go for it. Okay? Many people who know the vision of energy healing know that in essence, I'm not a Reiki master as Brenda, but I am my own master of my own soul, right? I mastered my soul embodiment. And that included the Reiki master before I even knew the words. As I sat in a chair with the symbols being granted to me by my Reiki master, as a level 2, I was given the symbols all at once without even knowing it. Okay, once I tap into the nature of who I am, I get to experience the beauty of the mastery of it, because those are the levels that I rise to. How many people want to go to that vision? So people will say, that's arrogant. How do you know that? Because I can heal my mother. Right? How many people know what that's like? Right? My mother struggles. Here's the deal with the idea of Reiki or any other healing modality. Your own soul is going to help you determine whether or not that's the right path for you. But if you are in the mindset of, I don't want to be healed, right? Think carefully about the wisdom that you bring through. That's what many will start to say. What do you mean people don't want to be healed? Is it convenient for me at this point to be resting? And we don't do this to make people feel bad, because there's different vibrations. Like as an elderly person, you're of course going to be feeling the aches and pains of age, okay? So it's not about wanting to, it will demean the vision of I suffer. Okay, people are suffering. So what kind of vision of healing am I going to bring through? If you do a healing session, I'd be calling on your soul. That's what I do. I do soul work at this point. And Reiki is aspects of soul. Okay, it's not the wheels on the bus go round and round. Hello, I know you're there. Thank you for joining. Now, caretaking our hearts is the Jesus soul, correct in its interpretation of how I am to rise to the next level of development. How many people wonder, is this a spiritual enlightenment video or is this a channeling of a celebrity? Okay. The Jackson family was brought through, in essence, in short order. But their vision is very much of trying to heal their vibration from various levels of understanding. And that vision is still present. It's like the drunken, stupor of their father was so strong that they could not get out of that vision of he's a drunk in his mind. Okay? And in his innocence, as a soul, he would say, what else was I to do with the vision of, it's like the destitute vision. He was feeling like he was destitute when he was bringing up his children. I had to work hard to keep it together for my family. Now that is also the vision of love for all souls. How many of us are feeling the pinch of that economy, right? Now, the celebrity souls, are they feeling the pinch? How many of them know that they are living off the royalties of Michael at this point? Right? How many people know that vision? Do we care about the celebrities who are what? Rich? Right? Let's lay it on the line. How many people want to know what it's like to be poor? I know what it's like to be poor, right? I was dirt poor. That's Joe. I didn't have royalties in my elderly years, right? I was disrespected by my family and loved by many as well. There's a mixed bag that he brings through. It depends on the vision that they were creating with. Let's put it that way. So in his mind, his vision as he was on the other side was, oh, they're creating the beauty of my heart. You see, because they see that vision as I'm rising above the pain and sorrow of my life here. That's the vision of most who go to that other realm of let's lift ourselves to another level of understanding, right? That's the heavenly realms. It's a vibrational frequency that we often hit. Now, boy, hello, Karen and Tina. There's another vision of love that keeps trying to break free of the vision of who these people are. There is no more of that vision that is going to break free of its natural ability to dream a little dream. Others are going to wonder, do I channel the visions of love for celebrities only and then get to the nitty-gritty of my soul? Okay. Pardon me, ma'am, but your French is ridiculous. So, in essence, I want to honor all souls with the vision of the French connection. I could honor the love of the French language, right? It was deemed not as strong by many in this country because of the usefulness of another language, okay? And in essence, that's the nature of soul work, is to try to figure out who is in the French connection, right? Who gets that beauty of work? Okay, someone there is going to know what that means, and they're going to honor that vision as strong for them. Okay, now, caring for me in my mind. Okay, so when I channel as a guide, there is a soul of a soul coming through saying, we're just getting ready to kind of wind this down. And I'm having some others kind of peek in every so often. So the Randy Jackson energy has been deemed beautiful, enjoyable, laughing with joy, guaranteed trying to visit his family trees. It's like the plot, okay? The burial plot. And there are images being played out on the screen about what that means. So in essence, this wasn't the like joyful, exuberant family, right? When their father was indeed around, there was a lot of joy depending on, the mood in the moment. And especially now as we age, we embrace those beautiful moments of joy even more. This is a nature of love from the soul. So many will receive those messages of love from their loved ones who they may not actually even really want to hear from. And that's the vision of it. It is a healing process in some cases. Some people do want to work out their visions of love here while they're still here. Why? Right? How many people are wondering, why would we do the work here if we can just wait and go to heaven and vibrate and be in that beautiful vision of love? That's part of it. So let's take a little break from the vision of love, right? Where are we going to go? Joy? Happiness? Ecstatic states of awareness? I'm not going to do that one for everybody again. Light becomes light. So when you honor the vision of love, you can often see the beauty in who people are. My vision is to always try to see the best in people, right? Except when I don't. And when I do that vision, it doesn't sound as good, right? People have to see the vision of a channel versus the vision of a guide, right? So people want to hear from the carefree souls that love to laugh, love to enjoy themselves, love to care, take their own hearts, right? How many of us are in the vision of, I can't even visit my family, much less, laugh with them, other than, over the phone or the video screen, right? There's plenty of people who are visiting a lot of people and doing the work, that they want to do. And this isn't going to be a condemnation of any soul, about whatever's going on. Brenda can handle that vision just fine. Okay? It's not Brenda. If she posts a guided message, it's not the vision of her soul. Usually they're from the vision of guidance from all souls, okay? It's in the vision of all. And it's of a higher nature that most don't even want to tap into because it scares them to death when they hear the vision of the 2022 vision. We know it's going to be better for her, but it can be a little risky for those on the edge of their seats. We're going to give you a little Michael in the moment, right? How many say, I don't want Michael's vision anymore because of what he did to his children, friends? That's some people. So we want to honor your vision of that one is done. I don't want to hear from that one because of what happened. This is the nature of our family trees working out their issues. So my issue was I was like a child, right? And I had to be like a child again in order to heal the wounds of love that I felt like I needed to do. And I messed up, right? That's what most would understand. Right? Excuse her. Anything that comes through as love is always going to be honored, whether or not people agree with it or not. But in honor of those souls, we're not going to bring through his vision for anyone. This is not about trying to hurt anyone else's soul that resides on this plane. And so that's why his vision is, I've got to take a back seat. He has to heal that vision from various levels of understanding. And at some point, those visions of love become visions of hate in his mind. And so he says, I beat myself up, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay? Now, when we envision, or when we vision quest, let's talk about the nature of vision questing. As a guide, when you channel, do you get to have your visions brought through to you? I get my visions handed to me in various ways, but usually it's in the state of awareness where I'm just doing my thing. Or I could sit down and, channel, right? Do I go into a trance? No. I'm of embodiment, and therefore I am always walking with my soul. Therefore, I don't have to go into a trance in order to receive the guidance. I'm in a light state of trance at this moment. It's more like the vision of love for my heart. So my soul is always there keeping me safe, right? From those visions of destruction. The visions of destruction that people often will, they're like, I like them, but I'm worried for you. And I would say, my guide will always take me to the place of safety and honoring of my vision. I don't have to worry about the vision of those it's the umbrella of guidance is what keeps me safe. Okay? And, it's not safety in the sense of, needing a protector. It's more like I was already told my visions for future. And it does not include me, being hurt or in a destructive situation with others. I could bring them their love, whoever it is. I could bring you your loving guidance, whether you are a Nazi or not. Okay? That's how strong my soul work is. I don't bring that vision into my heart as a soul. Okay, it's like the channeled words of wisdom know that those hearts are the innocents on this plane who have, well, I can't even say they lost their way, because in essence that would aggravate their vision. It's a destructive vision for the majority of people. But for those souls who are in that vision of I am of superiority, they feel it as an honor in their mind to be in that vision. So if I was bringing through their soul, everyone assumes they would know what would be said. And that's not the case. You would be surprised what people are meant to do on this plane to expand the field of vision for their own soul. So for me, I had to hear from the vision of Anne Frank, okay, many times. I had to hear from the vision of those that did not really feel so good to my mindset, okay? And I had to make peace with the vision of those who are saying, okay, I get it. You're connected, so you don't need to worry about the vision of life. It's not about leaving life behind. I don't walk around in a state of guidance for the most part. Sometimes it's like imbibing upon the beauty of my heart comes forth very strong. Don't ever turn your back on guidance. So there's someone here who is thinking, if I were you, I wouldn't be putting out as many videos in one shot. Because people are doing searches on Trump visions, right? To see who is and isn't connected to those souls who did the deeds on the Capitol. I will be under investigative awareness in my vision at some point. That's the nature of who I am. I have no issues with that vision. If people want to challenge the vision of who I am, that's fine. I do not despise the vision of authority. I am honored to be a part of this country's vision of love for, well, the life that we lead. I know the gratefulness that I hold in my heart, not only for who I am, for what I create. I don't create the vision of division as much as the reality in which we vibrate. So if people have a problem with the future coming through, that should disarm them, shouldn't it? That's the nature of why the value system that I hold is of validation. So that those who are on the screen can start to understand that if I say there's something going on, right? That means that there's something going on. Now, Christ himself cannot bring those souls back from their mindsets, correct? You'd be surprised. How many people want to hear from somebody who had those visions in her mind, right? Was I a Nazi because I, had the color of no. Did I have those visions of superiority placed upon my skin, right? See, this is not her soul. This is the guidance in which she vibrates. She's not a Nazi, right? Others are going to say, well, you're not clear in your message. Who's coming through? We're not going to go to that vision. She had to go to the highest of the highs in order to heal that heart. She associates herself with the mindset of an INFJ, and those visions are so strong in the beauty of love and the beauty of destruction. And that's the nature of it. So she healed her heart and discontinued the vision of love for most souls, right? That's what they do. In essence, that mindset of I am of superior, race is disconnecting the vision of love in their minds only for the soul level understand. So those people don't even vibrate in the view of soul. They're not going to be understanding my visions. And I would honor their visions as destructive. And I think that the majority of them would honor their visions as being destructive. I think they enjoy that vision of destruction, and they enjoy that vision of power that they feel when they are doing the destruction. Now, the nature of destruction has been bound by laws. Okay, so the laws are what carry us through this vision of courage. I am of courage. I do not bow down before anyone's vision, right? That's the strength in which I hold myself, right? And so I honor their visions of superiority that they feel they have, right? They feel that vision as superior. Although I will say that the majority of them actually are not imbibing upon the words in which they preach. And it depends on who they are, of course. You see, many who say, I'm of the wealth in this nation, right? The wealthy are being associated with evil. And we want to really disarm that language as well. Okay. And it's not about the majority of the people. But in essence, people are assuming that those who've made a lot of money are somehow the ones causing all the issues. We will be talking about that more in the future. Okay. Now your evil spirit is coming through, right? How many people are assuming that if I bring through love and understanding from an information source that understands the mindset of some of those who were partaking in that vision of destruction, would you want to learn anything from it? See, that's the thing, is most of us are like, I don't need anything from that vision. But how many of us are already in the throes of it? Right? I'm on the edge. Maybe I believe that. Maybe I don't. Right? Maybe I want to be part of that group. Right? What does it give me? Does it give you the strength that you need? Your visions of strength are just in the mind. It's often just the power plays that people put through in their mindsets. A lot of people feel like they're in the power of God, right? But yet they don't feel it in their minds. So what they do is they create those visions of destructions, which elevates the cortisol in their brain, which then triggers their mind into a state of anxiety and anger, right? They're in the fight or flight, basically, of their mind without even knowing it. That's the panic, right? The panic. Were any of them in panic? No. They were in that managing of a lot of them were. Believe it or not, there were few who actually felt like I'm going to die today, right? But in essence, the majority of those souls were not in fight or flight. They weren't being confronted, but many did not count on it getting so violent necessarily. And others are going to disagree with that vision. Now, we already said that there were going to be many who were going to be held, they were going to be freed. And that's the nature of it. Now, I'm not going to talk anymore about the mindset of those that actually went through that vision. But yes, there are many that are in that vision of, superior race. Okay? And in essence, it is interesting for me to look at many in that vision and ask myself, whom do they define as of white at this point in time? Because in essence, the purebloods of the world are what? On the rise? Pure in what way, shape, or form, right? I challenge many to a DNA test. You would be surprised how many don't want to go down. They have an ideology that limits their mindset, and that idea of my genetics are not pure. They might look to a couple or a few generations in their heart and not even realize that their family tree has branched off several thousand times, for the most part, from various forms of understanding. Now, and most people are going to start to wonder, what? This is going back, okay? Now, in essence, most people don't want to go down that path. So we're going to honor our hearts and say that those visions that we hold so dear to us now, because we don't want to get to that place where people are ending on, a sour note. I thought this wasn't going to be about political ideologies. This is about the nature of healing. Okay? So sometimes the vision of channeling is joyful. Other times it is of strength. But the lost souls in our world are among us, right? Many will be given that title. I was lost, right? I didn't know where I was. I thought I was going for a good cause. And then I got entwined in someone else's vision. It's like I couldn't break free of the crowd. I was struck in the neck by a guard, right? That was someone else who escaped that vision of death. We have many years of information to come related to the vision of destruction that took place. Now, in this moment, life dictates that I am to wind this down in essence. But I want to tell you all a little story about your lives. When you come into the vision of Channel for the Soul, your hearts are being honored by your own hearts and souls. You're grieving the loss of love in your minds only. When you hear the vision of destruction, don't take it don't take it into your hearts. Understanding is a good place to go with it. Let's understand the vision and figure out, how do I either get myself out of it if I'm finding myself falling into that vision that is destructive, or maybe I can elevate myself to a different level of understanding of, I just want to have some fun. So some people just want to have fun. Garden of the Gods is one of the places that I love, right? It's in Colorado. We have several senators there who will be called out for their participation in the events. Okay? 9/11 was part of their vision. In essence, we still have that vibration with us. Okay? And I want to honor those souls that are still in the mindset of, you're talking about a faith in which I know people were killed by certain people. And I want to honor your hearts, but in essence, if you look to the past of my videos, you will see the explanations of what soul level understanding is. I'm not here to try and ease your hearts. I am here to try and ease your hearts, but it's your minds often that is still bringing forth those visions of division. And it's not trying to say that anyone what anyone did was good or bad, or that it wasn't destructive. It was bad for us, of course. Okay, this is the nature of what we're talking about. People don't like the vision of anyone else's country having a different belief set. And we don't want to honor our own issues in this country, right? And it's not about saying, let's celebrate. What are we celebrating in this country at this point, right? So in honor of the fact that we are under the gun for love, I would say let's take this moment, right? Others would bow their heads and pray if you feel like you need to do that vision, and say a little prayer for your hearts. Do you honor the vision of where we go when we plant the seeds of hatred for those who did the destruction, right? I feel sorry for them. I actually feel sad, because I look to them as children acting out the destructive natures of, their visions, and being led astray in essence by their own visions. Others will say different. It depends on the soul, okay? I'm not saying anyone's soul is anything. I'm giving you a personal understanding of the vision of strength in understanding the visions of destruction and going, can we get us on a different path? Does the blanket, it's like the blanket that she wears. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. I used to make fun of a certain guide who would put a blanket on his lap. And now I understand why. Okay, I'm not making fun of him. I just was like, wow, why is everyone wearing blankets on their laps when they do these visions? You get a little cold sometimes. So now I want to honor the visions of love. Your caretaking hearts are open. Your visions of love are there. You're grieving the loss of love in your minds because it's always there. Okay, we may not see it being portrayed on the screens in front of us. We may feel like it's left behind. You're not being left behind. You're not further behind than what you think you are. You need to rise into the vision of life. Enjoy the visions in your minds. Enjoy the visions of love of God, right? If that's your strength. Most people will honor the vision of God. Soul level understanding will give me the nitty gritty of who I am. I'm the strength that takes on Gandhi or whoever's soul I need, right? People are going to say, I don't know what that vision is. It's the peaceful walkers, right? They're the peaceful warriors of the world. But they get their hats handed to them when they bring up a name of a soul that someone else doesn't agree with. Most will understand the nature of we got our hats handed to us because people don't like the idea of peace. They'd rather go to war. Okay? Some of us do have to go to war, right? Depending on the perspective that we choose to believe. Okay? Now, if I tell you there's a certain station that's not portraying the truth, are you going to get pissed off? I don't go to all stations, so I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you what to watch. That would be a dictator. What I will do is I will honor the visions of those who are starting to open up to their eyes to what the hell are we creating? Okay? The honest integrity that people have. If you have a vision and you stick by it, in essence, you're thinking your integrity. There's a higher vision of it. I'm not here to tell people how to be. I'm here to try and envision people in a higher vision of love than what we assume they are. So many will assume I'm better than them. I hold you just as high as me. Just because I happen to have a strength to connect to my own soul the way that I did doesn't mean that you aren't just as beautiful in doing the work that you do. Whatever you do, I honor that vision because I know it's strong. I know it's strong. Wherever you fall in line with your belief system is going to take you to a place of love. If you can reach that vibration of, oh, I'm finally feeling it. I finally get it. I understand. Right? This is just a strength that she holds in her heart for herself. I'm not on that vision of better than anybody. Okay? It's the arrogance that sometimes comes through. It's the strength and the confidence. You know what I have to go through in order to sit there and come on in a session, potentially humiliate myself with visions of future that may not come through? That's not what's going on. It's about whether or not I have to worry about someone else's vision, right? How many people want to know, do I honor the vision of Hitler? Do I have to bring through that soul to give us any level of understanding? What, from the 15th level that says he doesn't have to vibrate anymore? That vision has been destroyed in essence because the nature of it was so tragic. Okay? So it's not in the vision of who he was. Okay? I don't have to do that work. And I don't want to. I would rather focus on the beauty of who you all are and who we are here in this plane of understanding so that we can look to the future as a beautiful place, but with the reality of the seeds that we're planting right now. You see, those paths are being created for us in this moment. Honor your sons and daughters, right? Honor your victims. That's what some people would say, right? We are the victims of our minds. We're the victims of the lost lives, right? How many people lost their lives in that fire? Brenda had to hear from a soul ahead of time who lost her heart in a fire. It sticks with her. Not knowing that the reality was it was a future. Okay? And the husband is still alive. So at some point, she will be reaching out to the victims of that fire. Because in essence, the family are the ones that grieve for their loss. And in essence, had she known the vision of fire as future, she would have picked up the phone and tried to warn somebody. It is incredibly difficult to get past the vision of who will listen to those visions of future and pay attention. Managers are going to be coming through for me at some point. Because in essence, the struggle that I have is not in the vision of who I am, but in the lack of understanding that others have about those natures, right? How many people say, well, I see people do it all the time and they don't have any issues with it. If you're bringing through the world news, what does that say to you about the strength of their souls? See, a lot of people have these general, visions of what is or isn't happening, right? The general idea about where we're heading as a country or as a nation or as a globe. I'm giving you specifics so that people can start to understand their own hearts are part of the creative process. So let's hold ourselves up in the honor of peace. We need that vision. Brenda blesses us with that vision all the time. Please, let's have peace, prosperity, and health. Love. It's all within the vibration of love. So honor your hearts, honor your minds, and the victimhood that we create in is what we will start to unwind in at some point. I'm not afraid of the future, is where Brenda resides. She knows it's going to be a good one. And she's trying to create that vision for all of us. Let's all understand the future, right? In order to create a different path, right? That's what your soul will give you. Your soul will give you options to better, ways of getting to where you might want to be going. Okay? So I get to be told, contact nations, capitals, right? That's what I would have been told, right? The vision was already there. The vision was already there. I just didn't tune in. The messages are starting to come through. What can I do as a soul to increase the awareness of love for our hearts? Who do I bring through when I do those visions of future? Right? We'll start to see the visions play out as beautiful. It's not all destruction. I don't vibrate in that view of destruction. I get a ton of future for me that's beautiful. And in essence, it's the nature of trying to give people future things that are not devastating, because on the news, it's like I would need to be, how many people are looking at the, health and wellness section of the newspaper, right? What is that all about? Right? I mean, the beauty is of, COVID being on the rise, but it might be that in essence, that's what people assume, it's a beautiful thing, right? It's not. We have those destructive visions in it. We have to start to carry the torch for another soul. Most people will say, my vision doesn't make sense. So let me put it to you this way. If I got pleasure from having a validation, right? Does that make sense to someone why I might have some conflict? The tears in heaven are what took me to another level of understanding. I grieve for the souls that I don't even know. Okay? My aim is to try to prevent at some point. So while my vision is of joy for those beautiful events that are loving for me or other people that I know, because I get a lot of messages for people that I know that I just don't pass on because I don't think they want to know. It doesn't matter if it's beautiful or not, right? So if I hear good things, I pass them on. You sit with your soul, you're going to hear some beautiful words of wisdom, unless your life is in chaos, and they'll still tell you the beauty of who you are. You'll start to understand the strength of honesty in that vision. Oh my gosh, my guides were right. I didn't mess it up. Right? Realizing, in essence, someone else's tragedy was part of the future that got brought to me. And in essence, that vision of the woman was saying, I honor her heart. She struggles with my death. She struggles with the vision of, when do I reach out to the family? Or do I? Do they want to know? How would you handle a vision of a woman knowing the names of, it's the victim in a fire ahead of time? Not the last name, right? What does that do to your vision of, oh my God? Right? Do you see the strength of trying to work through love of country? Whose vision of future am I working with? Do you think I only honor the liberal mindset? I'm here trying to do the vision that gets us to a higher place. I don't identify as anything other than independent. But I get labeled bad by both sides. In essence, most people who know me don't label me as bad. But if someone hears a word, and this is about the language in our lives, someone hears one word, they instantly react. My vision, I'm actually going to learn about the word communism so that I can tackle it's like the topic that people keep throwing out. I'll actually learn from the deal. I keep hearing about Karl Marx. Do you want to know what that vision is? For those of you who think that that's where we're going in this country, I already demolished that idea, by the way. Right? Most people won't have the guts to research the visions that they keep claiming. They think they don't know shit. Most people don't know. They're listening to a soundbite on the news from someone they trust who now has been deemed of lies. Right? How many people know what the economic theories are? Even of this country, people should be cheering because, hello, how many people know what this country actually is? Most people say this is a democracy. No, it's not. It's a democratic republic. Do you know what that means? Now, the senators should know what that means, right? They should know what that means. But they should know what it means. I'm sorry. My language is getting messed up. Contact with Karl Marx, right? The mindset of another, what? Strong influence on a lot of souls. Of influence. In essence, the challenge is not there for people, okay? But this will tell you the nature of what I do and why I do it. So for me, rather than berate people I don't even hear people advocating for communism. In certain circles I do. But for the most part, I'm hearing a lot of negative about it. And this is going to be for my soul search on this session of Channel for the Soul. The structure of my wisdom is, let me understand the words in which I actually preach. So if you want to know what an arrogance is, that's someone who's saying they know what they're talking about, and yet they react in ways, and they could be going against something that might actually serve them well. You want to know why I know that? Because that's who I am. Sometimes I react to those words, and I don't even know what they are, right? Oh, you're arrogant. What? Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And then if I look at the words in a different light, right? I took advantage of my high horse because I lift everyone up there with me. So in essence, it's not about being pro-communist. Most people are like, what do you mean? Oh, you're going to be, I would be labeled, just even looking at it. This is the thing. People don't even want to educate. I'm not advocating for any economic theory at this point at all. I love my country, right? Do we not learn about these in college sometimes? Right? Maybe we should start a little earlier. Right? Not even close. But in essence, we have people who are just lobbing insult at people without even knowing whether or not they're their governments are bad or good. We already talked about the nature of communism, and the closest thing that would be, in that vision would be North Korea. Not this vision. I'm not advocating anything. Now, in essence, I'm going to wrap this up because I know most people already finished with this vision of Channel for the Soul. And I just needed someone else's vision to understand the strength and mindset of those who actually are going to try to learn about the visions of destruction before they put themselves on that path. See, because it could be that vision of communism would be the worst thing ever, right? Probably, right? We haven't seen it played out anywhere really successfully, right? But in essence, why don't we take a risk and ask the souls who know about it, right? So are we trusting people who have done their research? So maybe that's the vision. So I want to honor the souls that say, yeah, we know that's not the greatest thing for us. But why are we assuming people are in the vision of it? Does one policy decision put us over the edge? That's usually where we go, right? This one decision that our party is making is putting us into the label of a certain economic theory. Let's deconstruct that vision, right? Not tonight. We'll see if we can handle that vision. Motion sickness. Those of you who are in the vision of I'm starting to get motion sickness, pills, you can try the vision of an earplug in one ear. See if that doesn't help. Those of you who, that's one of the signs that someone may be starting to get some energy work done, is it can feel like motion sickness sometimes. The altering of your vision can do that. So take care of your hearts. Honor your vision of love. Make sure you caretake your own hearts first and foremost. Really, honestly, no matter who you are, look inside yourself and say, do I feel good doing this vision? Or do I feel angry? And I'm not talking about unjustified anger. Does this help me in my life? Does this anger help me in my life? Or do I need to just relax, unwind? Okay? Just pick up a good book. Carefree, maybe, right? Some of us are too serious in our mindsets. This one's part of that sometimes. So take care and have a wonderful evening. Let the love flow. That's your guidance for tonight. Let it flow.